almost everyone on the internet these days is talking about Claude skills, but almost everyone is also probably not going into details about what Claude skills is, right? When you go online, they make it look like Claude skills is just one step above prompting. In my opinion, I don't agree. I think that this is the shift from one-off prompts to repeatable AI systems. And once you get to understand what Claude Skills is, you stop using Claude like a chatbot and then you start using it like a real operator to help you run your business or to even help you in your own professional life. So in this video, I'm going to break down what Claude Skills really is. I'm going to talk about how to create a skill for yourself, the kind of things that needs to go into your skill document. So let's get right into it. I want to first start by simplifying what Claude Skills really is, right? So if you have been prompting or if you've been using ChatGPT or Claude, then a prompt is basically something you write every time, okay? Let's say anytime you come into Claude, you just come into the chat box, you enter a prompt, and then it gives you an answer, right? On the other hand, a skill or what we call Claude skill is actually something you define, right? You just define it once and then Claude can always reuse that skill, right? So just think of it like instead of always coming into your Claude desktop or your Claude application and saying things like maybe summarize this document like this, format it like that over and over again, you can just package all these steps or all the things you do into a skill or a Claude skill. And now Claude already has context. It already knows how to behave, right? And that's what using Claude skills will help you unlock so that you're no longer having to prompt every time, but you're now actually building in some capabilities inside Claude to help make your work a lot more efficient and a lot more fast as well. Now, I want to talk a bit about why skills matters, right? I want to talk about why you should be using Claude skills because a lot of people get stuck at prompting, getting an output, prompting, getting an output. They get stuck in this particular loop. And getting stuck in this loop means that you're always going to be doing things manually. And we always say that AI is supposed to help reduce your manual work. It's inconsistent with regards to the output you get. And doing this honestly doesn't scale, right? Because there's only so much prompting and output you can get within a given period of time. And you having to use skills definitely changes that, right? Because now it becomes a system with reusable behavior and consistent output. And this is how you start plugging Claude into your workflows, your agents builds, and your real business processes. This is why using Claude skills matters, okay? So now I want to talk a bit about what goes inside a skill.md file. Now, in order to define a Claude skill, you have to define this inside a markdown file, and you need to always name the file skill.md, right? Capital SKILL.md. So let's get a bit practical for a second, right? So if you come into your Claude desktop, what you have to do is you're interested in the settings button here, and you come down to capabilities, right? In order to use Claude skills, you need to make sure that you enable this exact capability, code execution and file creation. Enabling this means that Claude can execute code on a server, it can create and edit documents, spreadsheets, presentations, PDF, just name it. In order for you to use Claude skills, you need to make sure that you are enabling this here. Also, once you enable that, you can just scroll down to customize here, or you can just click customize here, and you would have access to skills. So you can see skills and connected, but you're just interested in skills. And in here, Claude can basically create the skill for you, right? You can basically tell Claude that this is exactly what I want to create a skill for, and it's going to create the skill for you. Or you can write out the skill instructions yourself, or you can upload a skill, okay? So I really want to show you how a sample skill.md file looks like. So let me go into a sample skill.md file, okay? So this is how a sample skill.md file looks like. And I just want to be fully transparent. I didn't write the skill.md file. The skill.md file was something I downloaded off GitHub. I'm going to leave the link to this exact skill.md file in the description box so that you can have access to it, right? So This is how a typical skill.md file would look like. And this is where a lot of people mess things up, or a lot of people get things twisted, right? They treat this particular file like it's a prompt, right? It's not a prompt. I want to make that clear. It's more so like a specification document, right? A good skill.md file would contain a number of things. And the first thing is that it will contain a clear purpose, right? So as you can see in here, you can see that the name here is resume-tailoring. So I did a webinar on how to 10x your job search using Claude. And I basically showed how you can use this exact skill to generate multiple resumes for multiple jobs you're applying for. So if you're interested in watching that webinar, I'm going to leave it on the screen, or I'm going to link it in this video some way so that you can go check it out. But every skill must have a clear purpose, okay? And a clear purpose means that you need to define what the skill is for, right? So in this case, you can see that there's a description in here. You can see that there's an overview in here, and it's talked about like what it's supposed to do, the core principles, the mission, right? So you need to be very clear on what the exact skill is and what it's for, right? If you leave it very vague, then the skill is going to fail. You want to be as detailed as possible, which is why I'm saying that if it's hard for you to just write this app yourself, then you can basically just ask Claude to help you generate the skill as well. It has a skill creator inside Claude Skills, okay? Now, inside your skill.md file as well, you need to define when to use it, okay? So in here, you can see that it's clearly defined when the skill is supposed to be used, okay? Now, this is very huge, okay? You need to tell Claude when this skill should be activated. And this is what would make it feel very smart. So in here, you can see that it's been clearly mentioned that you have to use this skill in all these 4 scenarios. It's been clearly mentioned that you should not use the skill in this scenario, right? You are not using the skill for generic resume writing from scratch. You're not using it for cover letters. You're not using it for LinkedIn profile optimization. If you want to have something for LinkedIn profile optimization, it's recommended for you to have a separate skill for that, okay? Now, the next thing a skill would contain is also step-by-step instructions, okay? So you don't have to have like fluffy instructions. Like I said, you want to make sure that you're providing clear steps inside your skill. So in here, you can sort of mention things like, you can see that it's talked about like required from user. It requires job description, resume library location, the workflow. It's defined step by step what needs to happen or what should go on in the skill, okay? You need to provide it with clear instructions, and you can see that there's something here called implementation as well. Those are things you can add. You need to also provide output format, okay? So you can see that in here, it's given like the output format here to be Markdown, document, PDF, report. These are things that you want to define. And the reason why you are defining this is because you want to make sure that your output is always consistent, right? You always want to make sure that, okay, if I call this resume tailoring skill, it's always going to output the refined resume in PDF, right? So you can be very detailed again in terms of how you want the output to look like as well. And you can see that there are a few things in here that are being defined as well. Like I mentioned, the more granular you go in, the better. Even though there are things like code and everything, you don't need to include code here. But if you can't code and you want to include some code, go ahead, right? You can see that in terms of how the resume structure would look like, this has also been defined that this is how the structure should look like. It's gone deep down, even down to like how the title should be phrased and everything, where the experience should come from and all that. So all these things need to be defined in your skill.md file just to ensure that like your outputs are always consistent and they're not going to drift every time. Okay, so now that I've talked about what a skill is, what should go into your skill.md file, I want to talk about how you can write a good skill, okay? Because the difference between a good skill and a bad skill would definitely show once you call it or once you ask it to perform a task for you, okay? So if you just treat the skill.md file like a prompt, then you are going to get something that isn't reliable or consistent. It's going to fail, okay? So the pattern is always simple when it comes to creating a good skill. You need to be very specific, you need to be structured, and you need to be predictable, okay? You are not trying to sound smart, you are only trying to remove ambiguity. Now, I want to talk a bit about the do's and don'ts of like creating a skill, okay? One of the greatest do's when you're creating a skill, and I think I've talked about it a lot, is be very explicit when you are defining your steps, okay? Go into details, all the workflows, be very explicit about it. Always define how the output format should look like. So in this case, the format has been defined. You can see how the resumes would always show up. You need to define that as well. You need to keep it focused on one job, okay? You need to make sure that your skill, if it's supposed to be used for resume tailoring, making sure that everything you're defining here is for that particular job. You don't want to be having multiple jobs running in one skill. You can create so many skills in Claude, so why do you want to overload one skill.md file with multiple jobs, right? And always make sure that, just like software development, just like anything you do, make sure that you're always testing the output so that you can identify errors and fix them early. And then you can always, like, once you're testing, you can always also iterate as well. Now, one big thing you should never do when it comes to like creating your skill.md file, don't make it look too broad, okay? Again, I keep saying don't treat it like a prompt. Even with prompts, the more specific you are, the better for you. So don't make it too broad. Don't include any vague instructions, otherwise you're going to fail. Don't overload one skill with multiple jobs. I already talked about that. Don't assume Claude will figure it out. No, it won't. It's probably going to fail. So make sure that you are putting in everything you need in there. And also don't skip formatting rules, okay? Make sure you are defining how you want the output to be structured and everything. Now, I want to talk a bit about some real use cases. The use case you see here is one for resume tailoring, okay? But there are several things that you can create skills for in your own business workflows, in your own professional life, right? You can create a skill for content creation or content generation, right? You can have a skill that's just generating content in your business. You can have a skill for financial analysis. You can have a skill for resume optimization, like what you just saw here. You can have a skill for code reviews, document processing. Just imagine having a skill for all these things. Just imagine how life would improve for you, like for your work and all that. And that's how you start building agent systems, or that's how you start building AI systems for your business. So before I wrap up, I want to talk about my paid community that I'm launching. If you're interested in getting some more structured way of learning AI, getting caught up with AI, I know that the AI field is moving really fast and a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed. A lot of people are thinking about all these tools and how they can catch up. Too many tutorials, no clear path to actually use it. This is the main reason why I am relaunching this community. So AI Edge Hub is the name of the community, and it's where you would cut through all the noise and start building real AI system with a community of people who are actually serious about building, who are actually serious about learning and knowing where to start. Inside this community, there's going to be lots of workshops, lots of hands-on learning, lots of projects. You would basically be in a group of people who actually are working towards the same goal, towards vision, regardless of what you're trying to achieve, whether you're a professional, you're a business owner. This community is for you. If you're looking to get started with AI, this is exactly where you can start from. I'm going to leave the link to the community in the comment section below so that you can check it out and you can sign up and join the AI Edge community. In addition to that, if you want to have your own way of learning and building things that matter to you, then you can also sign up for Additional.ai. And once you sign up, you get 3 projects that you can try building for free as well. And once you get stuck, there's an AI coach to help you get unstuck. Coming back to what we were talking about with regards to Claude skills, I want to just wrap up quickly here, right? Here's the bottom line with that. Most people are still prompting AI, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like this, there should always be a place where you start from. But the people who are getting real leverage are building systems around it. And Claude skills, in my opinion, is a step in the right direction. I want to be honest with you. I'm not saying that all your problems will go away once you start using Claude skills. I'm not saying it's magic, but if you're thinking it's messy, or if your skill is messy, definitely for sure, it's going to definitely output something messy for you, right? But then if you have a clear process, you have clear structure, then your output will become very consistent. And that's a real shift from do this for me to here's how this should always be done. So like I mentioned, I did a webinar where I walked through how you can basically use a resume matching skill to 10x your job search using Claude Skills. If you're interested in watching that video, I'm going to leave it on the screen so that you can go check it out. But yeah, as usual, thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the next video. If you are not subscribed to my channel, do subscribe, share and comment and all the good stuff.